Will this Dan Hurley talk ever end? Providence fans hate it. We love it. You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have to bring this up. My YouTube support has been amazing since the show started. I'd love to have all of my subscribers also download the audio version. Wherever you get your podcast, it's equally as important to helping the channel and the Locked On UConn audience grow. So if you can do me two quick favors, first click that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen, then head over to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, hit that follow button. This way you never miss a moment of Locked On UConn. Can't tell you how much your support means. It's everything. And if you're tuning in from a car or an audio device, once you finish the show, please drop us a 5-star review. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's bring in our guest for the evening. Leb, let's get you into the mix here. What's up, my guy? Matthew Leb from Providence, internet troll fame. Gotta love it. My guy and I did a live show last week, and I brought him back. He's kind enough to join me late night, and we'll air this at a time to be revealed. Wanted to get your take on this. This is when we last spoke, we talked about, we had obviously differing opinions about whether or not Dan Hurley was coming back. What do you make of all this Dan Hurley taking over the sports world from a Providence perspective on the Dan Hurley and Andrea Hurley for that matter? She's been just as big in the mix as all of this.
I mean, it's cool. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a Big East fan. It's awesome to see just the attention that he's gotten. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say that he maybe, wanted the attention a little bit, or maybe is kind of is craving the attention. I don't know how true that is. I don't think growing up as a Hurley in the basketball world, I don't know if you really need any more attention than what he probably got. But I mean, it's cool to see. I wish he would go away. I wish he would go to LA. I was wrong. And I'm taking it on the chin. But good for him and for making that decision. Good for his wife and good for UConn too.
Look at it from the broader perspective, right? Because I know, listen, you're a smart guy. You're contrary to popular belief, right? On Twitter. What are your thoughts from a college basketball perspective? What does this do for college basketball to have Hurley stay and spurn? I think you and I both agree that the Lakers aren't the logo they used to be, but it's still a big brand. What does that mean for college basketball with Dan Hurley staying?
It's tremendous. I mean, at the end of the day, the Lakers are still the Lakers. They can offer a ton of money, and it would be an opportunity for Hurley to continue his legacy and his family legacy. Like I said, on our live show, this I thought was a way for Dan to say, okay, now we've conquered all the levels of basketball.
Sure.
So now the NBA is kind of like the last missing piece to that. It's tremendous for college basketball. It's tremendous for the Big East. I hope that it is going to be like that. I hope that he's not going to then go to, the Knicks or the Nets or just wait for like an opportunity that's more close by. Because that does seem like it could be a possibility. Like, I feel like LA was a good fit, money-wise and brand-wise, but it didn't have the geographical piece of the puzzle for Dan.
You're the first person that said that you felt like the money was good. Do you feel like did you really believe that, or do you feel like he should have gotten I feel like the Lakers didn't give him that. I had a guest on call it the Godfather offer. Like, I give you an offer you can't refuse. I don't think that was the case. Do you think that was like 11.7 million? I mean, it's a lot of money, but we're also talking about moving to the most taxed state in the entire union. So what does that come out to? You get 39% of that. That's rough.
Right. And by good, I mean, like, the money was acceptable. I don't think definitely he didn't get the Godfather offer from the Lakers. although the opportunity to make more money probably would have been, in the NBA with like maybe some endorsements, things like that. I don't really know exactly how coaches can take advantage of those marketing opportunities with the NBA. Um, but there's also a ton for him in Connecticut, especially being like the king of an entire state. I mean, you're talking about
Right.
like there's no one more popular in Connecticut than Dan Hurley right now. So um, I do feel like the money was good enough, and if the Knicks were offering him the same thing and he turned it down, maybe I'd be a little more surprised.
That's a great call. I was on an LA show earlier this week, especially when this comes out. And they asked me about the offer from our perspective on Locked On UConn. And I just said, I really don't think he got the offer that he thought, but I do think that if he got that same offer from the Knicks, he likely is gone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, I don't know if it's just demographic or if it's the market, or maybe it's more about experience or what he can do with that market, and the marketing opportunities you would have in New York. But yeah, I feel like that would just be a little bit of a better fit. Although LA is still LA, and I was almost surprised that maybe with his wife, I feel like maybe she would kind of fit well out there, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I think she would have fit, but I also feel like, I mean, I don't know how much time you spent in Jersey, man, but like Jersey girls they don't like change. And I know I'm being a incredible generalist at the moment, but growing up in Connecticut, having lived in New York City, knowing a ton of people that lived in Jersey when I went to school, still having really good friends. I'm a diehard Giants fan. There are Jersey people like it. The mentality is just different. It's just a different world. And I think she could fit in, but I don't think she wanted to, just to be completely honest.
It is a different world. I mean, I lived in California for a very short period of time.
Yep.
And it's the people are just so different.
When did you live in California? I'm curious.
Yeah, I lived there in 2019, 2018 to 2019, so about a full year. And I worked for, actually, funny enough, during the Stanley Cup, the Oilers. So their AHL team. Yeah. And it's like the best way I would describe California people is like the opposite of Dan Hurley. Like they're nice, but they're not kind. Like I feel like Dan Hurley's like not the nicest guy in the world, but I would like I bet he's like has a good heart, right? Like California people are the opposite. They're like they'll be nice to your face, but they're not really good people.
Well, you're also dealing with a bunch of transplants. I'm older than you. I lived in LA from 03 to 05.
Oh wow,
and, I played professional tennis. I'm a much older guy now, so I was like training at UCLA, playing in tournaments in minor league world, and trying to make it in quotation marks. Knew I was not going to be that good, but I was teaching tennis. So you're dealing with. I dealt with a lot of hoity-toity folks, but you're also dealing with people that are not really from Calabasas or Sherman Oaks, where I lived, and all that stuff. So it's an interesting world. And as soon as that name came up, I just got flashbacks to when I lived there and me being stuck on the 101 going to my job and even though I was teaching tennis, I was teaching people how to play a game and also trying to kind of make it on the side. And I was pissed off all the time. Like I just couldn't imagine Dan Hurley and they could probably helicopter him in like Kobe did, but still just like that energy is just different. And I can't imagine what it's like even now in 2024. This is 20 years ago. So it was such an interesting like process that came about. We're going to talk about from the PC fans perspective, where do you guys go from here coming up after this? When you're hiring for small business, let me get this LinkedIn going here. When you're hiring for, where are we at, LinkedIn? There you at. When you're hiring for small business and you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, that's why I use LinkedIn Jobs. I remember searching for my latest team member when I had my own business. It was such a breeze with LinkedIn Jobs. They have tools to help you find the right professionals faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. It connects you with professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. Did you know that 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit any other job site? If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. Plus, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours on LinkedIn. I experienced it firsthand. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Check out LinkedIn Jobs today. Well, that was a disaster, but we're back.
I thought you crushed it. I had to deal with my dog.
Man.
I told you last time, dude, my dog.
No, it's cool.
She's like, dude, whenever I'm doing one of these, she's like, I need all the attention. Like I just can't. So it's tough.
You're, man, say less. I have, I think you have a small dog, right?
Yep.
I have a Great Dane and a Husky, and they are complete psychos. And if they were up here, you'd see this big head here, and another big head here, just in between me trying to get all the love in the world. So I get it. There's a large quantity of copium being dealt out in the greater Providence region for the next 5 months until basketball season starts. How are you going to cope with this news that Dan Hurley has not graced the left coast's presence?
Well, I mean, my strategy always is kind of just live in denial. At the end of the day, I choose to be the guy that will say, Dan Hurley maybe isn't even one of the best coaches in the league. So, obviously at the end of the day, those are all just jokes and forms of, engagement trolls. But we know Dan Hurley's probably the best coach in college basketball. And again, I think that the biggest thing that PC fans have to remember is this is your biggest rival, right? And it's good for our program when Connecticut is good. Obviously, can hurt with recruiting, but when Connecticut's good, that's good for us. When URI is good, same thing. That rivalry is good for the state.
Sure.
But this rivalry is more about basketball, and less about like geography. I mean, obviously, two schools are relatively close, but this is a conference rivalry that goes way back, and we've had some great games since I've been a fan.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't disagree. The Connecticut governor has kind of talked about how he's going to try to help Dan Hurley be the highest paid coach in college basketball. If Providence ever wins a title in college basketball, what will your governor do for Kim English?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We're not a state school, so it's tough. Private Catholic college. It's I mean, Ed Cooley got the key to the city.
Okay.
So that was a big deal.
Where do you think that key to the city is now?
Well, I don't know. So good. That's a good question. I don't know if the key to the city is like everyone, like you get a key and then like that's your key.
Yeah.
Or if it's like you have to give, like it's like the Stanley Cup. Like you gotta give it back. Like you've had the key, now you have to give it back so someone else can get the key. Because I mean, if anyone did have their key revoked, it would be Ed Cooley.
He's the Reggie Bush of that, because taking that
right
accent back.
Right. Yeah. Give the key back. If you still have it, Ed. But I mean, if he does still have it, then I mean, like it's probably just hanging up somewhere.
Do you think everyone in PC world, you're on the front lines of this? Do you think everyone has that kind of in denial factor of, man, he's back, they're going to be good again? What are we going to do? That kind of mentality, or do you think most people are like you in the fan base, or do you think there's kind of like people? Do you think there's people that don't like you on your PC fan base?
So there is a couple, and I honestly just think that it's mostly just because like they maybe think I have like intentions of trying to like just be like popular or whatever, or just like or be like famous because of Twitter, like, and that's literally not it at all. Like I just like to have fun, and I have a really good job professionally. Like this, I would never like try to leave my career to like go pursue this kind of stuff unless it was like an unbelievably good opportunity. But like I don't know. There are some, but not because of my UConn stuff or anything like that. There are a few that like I've noticed that maybe like I've tweeted about me, things like that. But for the most part, I think people are very kind of almost indifferent about like Hurley staying or going if you're a PC fan, because I think there are pros and cons to
Sure.
him staying or, leaving for wherever, whether it be another college team like Kentucky, which I thought would have been not good,
Mhm.
or, LA or the Knicks or whoever.
No, I don't disagree. And I'm going to do a promo really quick, and you're still going to stay live with me here. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? You're probably not. Having to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to the Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day. Bring you the biggest stories. Locked On, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or your free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have you thought about this aspect of things from a PC perspective? Does Kim English need a first lady like Andrea to make sure he stays in the straight and narrow and get him over the hump? Sometimes driven men need that woman in their life to kind of snap them back into reality.
I mean, when you look like Kim English, I don't know if you should limit yourself to just one woman. Although, I mean, he's getting a little older, so maybe playing the field isn't maybe it's tiring. I remember when I was single, not that long ago, and you're like you find yourself like you're like going out on a weeknight. It's like
Yeah.
you're spending more money, but I think that if he is playing the field, I'm sure he's having a great time. Um, just like Ed Cooley was, but married.
Allegedly. I'm going to say
Allegedly,
that
yes. Yes.
for our purposes.
Yes. My apologies. I know we're recording, so different rules, but yeah, allegedly, of course. But I think I think that's probably good. Maybe give it a couple more years, let him settle in, see where he's gonna be, because this could be. I hate to say it, it could be a stepping stone for him, or it could be more of a long-term thing. So we'll see.
What's your take on that? Do you think Providence College is more of a stepping stone place, or do you feel like you can build a winner there? I mean, Pitino did it in the past. You've obviously had Ed Cooley had some success, but then he used it as a stepping stone. So I'm curious because it takes time, man. Like you need someone to come in. Let me just put it this way. You need your Jim Calhoun to come in and say, I'm going to be here for the next 20 to 30 years and build a winner here and be committed to it. You certainly don't need Kim English going out playing the field or, dating Kim Kardashian lookalikes or anything like that, because you guys will never win if that happens. But what are your thoughts?
Well, so you're exactly right. And I think this is one of the reasons why Ed Cooley leaving hurt so bad, because we all thought that was Ed Cooley, right? We thought he was our Jay Wright, our
Okay.
Jim Calhoun, right? And he was a local guy. I think that there was that connection. So we thought, okay, maybe he would take a hometown discount. But here's the other thing, too. PC has a beautiful, brand new practice facility that is one of the best in the entire country. They sell out every conference home game in a 12,500 seat arena, and they draw really well for the non-conference. They're in a just about the best conference in college basketball. They're in a relatively large metro area, and you have Boston, you have obviously Providence. So I think that all the pieces are there. I think you just need a guy that will stay long enough. And if it is a stepping stone for Kim, I'm not too worried about it, because I mean, think about it, right? If Kim were to leave in say 2 years for a blue blood, right, or maybe like a step below that, that means he had great success. And if we can
Sure.
continue to hire coaches, and if they keep leaving us, the only way they're getting better jobs is if they have success. So I mean, I wouldn't love the turnover, but I think the program will survive no matter who's coaching them at this point. I think we have gotten over a bit of a hump.
Did you just admit that Providence College is a mid-major?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for sure. No, they're an elite college basketball program now. Obviously, they have had their struggles, but if hey, they're in the same conference with UConn, so I mean,
no arguments there.
right?
I'd also like to point out, so is DePaul, but
True.
DePaul's
Yeah.
on the come up. They're on the come up.
They are.
I feel like it. Chris Holtman gonna set them up. When we return, we're gonna play a fun game of mixing the PC and UC world in a game I like to call Who Do You Want? Coming up after this. Summertime means baseball and the NBA Finals and more. You can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200. You can use it to bet on everything from the finals, MVP, to who's going to hit it out of the park. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnUConn or Locked On and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, let's bring Leb back. All right, Leb, I've been doing this with all my guests lately, but because you are a Providence fan and a notorious internet troll, I want to talk to you about how to do this game. We've been asking for UConn people or UConn coaches in history, but I want to get a mixture. So the first question is this. My wife and I bought a minivan. We're taking on a road trip very soon with our children. You are driving a minivan or a van of sorts. You can pick 4 players or coaches. You have to pick 2 PC players or coaches, 2 UConn players or coaches to travel with you cross country. So it's you driving and then someone shotgun, 3 in the back.
Okay.
What do you got?
All right. Well, number 1, I'm going with Friar legend Marvin Barnes. And the reason I'm going with Friar legend Marvin Barnes is because Marvin, when he played in the ABA, he was asked to get on the team plane. And when he was asked to get on the team plane, he said, and I quote, "I ain't getting on no time machine." So he did not fly to any games. He only took the bus. So this is a guy who, if you're going to road trip, this is a guy that has a lot of experience on the road because
Very
he
John
refused.
Madden-esque.
Right, exactly. Just like John Madden would not fly. I think it was like a time zone thing, maybe going from because I think he played for Kansas City. That was Central Time.
Mhm.
So I think maybe Kansas City, if you go on the East Coast, right? So bad news, Barnes, he's number 1. Also, he had a lot of fun in his day. We'll leave it at that.
I think we know what that means.
Yeah, for sure. Next, you got to go with Jim Calhoun because
Okay.
Jim, my favorite thing about Jim Calhoun in the entire world is he's a diehard Red Sox fan. I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. In fact, there was a time when I was young where Jim Calhoun was asked to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium after UConn had won the national championship, and he refused because he's a diehard Red Sox fan. And that if I've never related to or respected a man more in my entire life. Great basketball coach, diehard Red Sox fan. That's just absolutely unbelievable that he would turn down the New York Yankees because he's a diehard Red Sox fan. Just incredible.
I love the explanation.
Yep. Then I would honestly go Dave Gavitt. This is the founder of the Big East, right? This is the godfather of the Big East. He is responsible for everything that the league has right now. And he's just a genius, basketball genius, marketing genius. He does it all. And I would love to just be able to pick his brain. And then finally, for the 4th spot, last on the list would be Donnie Marshall for sure. He'd be last.
I don't even want him on. I don't even want him if I'm
Yeah.
taking him as a UConn guy.
Yeah, no, get him.
No
him
thanks.
Away, very far away from my.
No
van.
disrespect. Donnie as a player, love him. Donnie as an announcer, not so much. Continue.
Yeah, not a fan. Man, I think maybe I would just go. I think this is the easiest choice. I think I would just go Ray Allen, just because. This is a guy who is one of the greatest, or one of the most talented basketball players of all time. Just from sheer ability standpoint. So you have, one of the greatest coaches of all time. You have one of the greatest basketball pioneers in Dave Gavitt, creating a conference. You have one of the most talented basketball players of all time in Ray Allen. And then you got just Bad News Barnes, who's just a fun guy, who
It's good.
probably knows all the good spots to get you where you need to be, point A to point B, if you know what I mean. So
I love it. No, that's fantastic. That you exceeded my expectations there. That's a great list. I love the Bad News Barnes angle. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I don't know if you golf. But I'm going to ask you for a golf foursome. But I've been saying you get to pick yourself and 3 players. But for the sake of numbers, 2 and 2, you're not playing. You're basically like, I can put together a golf foursome for a tournament. You don't have to win it. You just want these guys to have a good time, or you can have them want to kill each other. However you want to play it. Foursome, 2 PC, 2 UC.
You want me to do that right now?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah. All right. I would go Kim English for PC.
Okay.
He posted a video of him. I believe it was at the driving range, or just it could have been like Cranston Country Club, like just on the course. His swing is absolutely just diabolical. It's mint.
Okay.
Like he must have played a lot of golf, like when he was in the NBA. And those guys do. They're not. That's not uncommon for them. They have summers off. You're not a ton to do. You don't want to just overtrain yourself. So definitely would go Kim. I would probably go for, I got to get someone from UConn there. So I would probably go Dan Hurley, because I like the idea of like the 2 current coaches battling it out, on the course. And also just Hurley, I feel like he would be a fun guy on the course. Maybe, loosen up.
I've heard he's terrible at golf.
Yeah. Okay. That's good then, because Kim is so we could have something on Dan, be like, all right, he's better at golf than you.
Yep.
I would go Bryce Cotton, because anytime we're listing players or coaches of any, variety with PC, Bryce Cotton, he's my favorite Friar of all time. Didn't get enough credit. Unbelievable player. And I feel like he's like a guy kind of like a Mookie Betts type. Like how Mookie Betts is a good bowler. I feel like Bryce would be good at everything. Like he whether he's a golfer or not, I don't care. He's probably good. So give me Bryce. And then, lastly, I would probably go. Give me Ted Bancroft. He was a walk-on for PC, but I think he's got all the intangibles for the glue guy. So he's the glue that would hold everything together, because you have a lot of egos in that group. But Ted, no ego, but a lot of talent, a lot of ability. And I think that if I were to, I think that would be my foursome. Ted Bancroft, final as the glue.
Perfect. All right, this is the last question. Only 2 people. You can give me one UConn player or coach. Probably going to go player with this one based off of the question. Same thing with Providence. You open a club in downtown Hartford. I don't know why you would, but you did. And you have to pick 2 guys to be your security detail at the door. Who are your guys?
Oh, I mean, this is pretty easy. Number 1 is LaDante Henton. I mean, this dude, he's a bad dude. And he's like one of those dudes where he doesn't necessarily look like he's the strongest dude on the court, but he is always. And the other one, Hashim Thabit. I mean, no one is getting by Hashim Thabit. Are you kidding me? Like that, that would be an unstoppable force with security.
I'll tell you what, Hashim Thabit has been mentioned on the security detail quite a few times on Locked On UConn. I've gotten Jeff Adrian, which is also a beast of a pick for the old guys like myself. Terreno Walker has been mentioned from the 1990 team. But those are some good ones. I like that. That was good, man. I appreciate you. I'm gonna stay on for one more promo, and then we'll kind of close out the show.
Sounds good.
Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day. Local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available in the free Fire TV channels app. Leb, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you rounding off my recording session of all of the shows that'll be out when I'm on vacation. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Sonetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure your toughness meter is always rising. And as always, go Huskies.